Hey guys, it's Chris, and welcome to Toned and Toneful, the self-actualization video series, episode number 71, The Burden of the Capable. So in this week's episode, guys, I want to talk about how us being the most capable version of ourselves means that in life we will carry more burden into many of the places that we travel to and many of the places that we accept responsibility in. This can be kind of something that's hard to accept. It's not easy to think that just because I'm more capable means that I'll have to do more work. Just because I'm more capable means that I'll have to spend more time fixing mistakes of others and being a leader to others who are maybe even disdainful or have never asked me to be their leader. This is something that is a coming of age in the sense of as we become more well-built, as we become more well-thought, as we become more sustainful in our energy and our thought process, that people will naturally lean on you. And in those times, it can feel sometimes like, why am I being punished for being the best version of myself? And that's why in this episode, I want to take a few moments to kind of think of some ways that you can be thankful and also understand that this burden is actually a benefit. This burden is actually a privilege. Number one, being a leader isn't something that everybody asks for. Many people end up being leaders by circumstance or leaders by proxy. We might meet other people, we might talk to other people, and be in a workplace where we become the leader because others see naturally how we deal with situations and how we deal with maybe our life ourselves. The more responsible that you become and the more responsible that you're able to deal with things, it's natural that others who are naturally a little more disorganized and maybe a little bit more unsure of what they need to do as far as priorities or as far as even their self-confidence will come to you to look for someone to help them manage stress or manage the projects that they're working on. And just because you didn't ask for this, just because you didn't ask to be a leader, doesn't mean you won't become one. And sometimes the responsibility of becoming this person can be a little bit overwhelming, especially when it came to you as a way that you almost feel blindsided. But this shouldn't be mistaken that you pull back or that you go away from that responsibility. In order to grow in life and in order to observe the best versions of ourselves, sometimes we need to be put in a position where leadership is part of our growth process. And becoming the most responsible individual and becoming the most well-built version of yourself for yourself means that in some circumstances, you'll be that leader. The best sniper is a great sniper. They might work with only themselves. They might be the kind of person to pinpoint projects. The best salesperson might be the person who can make all the sales on their own. But this mindset that we only look out for ourselves with our best skill is not always necessarily morally the best place for us to be. That doesn't mean that it is easy to look out for others, but we must be careful in when we become this leader, not to be like, why am I burdened? Why am I the most capable? But the thing is to find others who we can look up to in other places and places where we can finally find others and be in rooms where we're not the most capable. That's how we can become the most expansive version of ourselves. But you have to be careful with this because as you become the more expansive version of yourself, you're now back at the bottom of the totem pole. A lot of people find comfort in being the best salesperson, in being the lead guitar player in the band, in being the person who sticks out the most for their individual efforts. But when we become the highest version of ourselves, it's no longer about the individual effort. It is actually about the project. It's about the team. Many band leaders, you'll notice, might be the best instrumentalists in the band. And a lot of times you'll notice this is drummers and bass players and piano players. A lot of guitar players might not like hearing that, but truly, when we look at projects where people lead the project, where they can musically see where everyone can be at their best standpoint and move to different situations that can enhance what we have going on as far as the project, or enhance what we have going on as far as raising each individual to make them a better version of themselves. That is our responsibility. That is part of our dynamic in being a human being. And part of being a very capable human being is understanding that it isn't all about ourselves, and that our community and those who surround us, if their life is not as well proportioned, if they're not as well managed, they're actually the weakest link. So when they become the weakest link, we can't actually become the best project that we want. So this leads me to point number 2, in being that becoming a leader to those who are less capable and guiding them into their best self. While this might seem like a tireless process where you're like, oh my gosh, I got to show so-and-so how to do this. There's a rhythm guitar player I invited into the band and they can't get the groove right to this part. I've been this person in projects, and then I've been the person leading people in projects. And believe me, it is hard to be both people. To have compassion for the person who's trying to learn how to be a better instrumentalist or a better person in the team is not easy. To hear feedback constantly, to be told what you can improve on a lot, and sometimes not always get to hear that you're doing a good job or you're so great, that can sometimes be a little bit belittling. And understanding also what it's like on the other side to be the person feeling like you're pulling this other person along and helping them become the best version of their self can sometimes feel like, well, what's the reward in this? I'm not getting, financially rebuked for this. I'm not getting any credit. The person who I'm telling them to improve this or work on that, they're not necessarily even the most happy with me at this moment. They're a little bit more resentful of me, or they might see me as, being bossy. But really, if we can do this job right, if we can learn to lead others and bring them into their best selves, one of the best things that you can have is them noticing that you actually bring the best out of them, that you put them in a position where their growth is part of your growth. And how can we be a strong team, a strong band, a strong project, a strong anything, if there are people in the team who are lackluster? And yeah, you can fire that person. You can get rid of that individual and say, hey, well, let's find someone who's more capable. But when you bring someone else who's more capable into the group, if their working dynamic isn't correct, or if they're better than you, are you ready to step down and let them lead? Are you ready to be the person who could be in a juxtaposition of positions where you need to learn to let that other person become the leader that they're going to become? Or are you down to get like that feedback that you were giving to other people before? Maybe now you're getting the feedback. This is a very interesting dynamic to be in, because as we move through different teams and move through different places in life, our position and our level in the hierarchy is constantly changing. And that might be at times, again, I have a lot of friends who I work on music with, and I'm a little more the leader. People are asking me about techniques. People are asking me about how this melody goes, what scale I'm using. And I've been in projects where pretty much information is being downloaded to me all the time because I'm the least capable person in that group. But the benefit of being the least capable person is to be the person who's learning the most. The benefit of being the person who knows the most is becoming the best teacher that you can be, becoming the best person of advisory that you can be, and realizing how special that position is and taking it on with a little bit of gratefulness and gratitude, because you're able to build a vision the way you want. Which brings me to point number 3. There is burden, but the burden is put on you because you are capable. Managing this burden can sometimes be a little bit hard. It's hard to take on that role and sometimes not get credit. It's hard to take on that role and not be financially, paid for it. It's hard to take on that role and feel like, I'm spending all my time telling all these different people what to do. Why is my situation like this? Why am I put in this position when other people are just coasting through this? It feels like they're just enjoying doing what they're doing. Maybe there's another member in the group that's in the middle, and they don't really have to take feedback because they're doing good enough to be part of the group, but they're not doing enough to stick out. And remember that those have their own pain points. Like in the episode we talked about hard to be mid, those people are experiencing another different dynamic where they want to be great, where maybe you are great and you are able to pass that down to other people, and your job should be to pass that down to other people. If we want to see this world be more cumulative effort, if we want to see this world turn into a place where we don't need robots to do as much, then we need to work together. And part of the problem that a lot of, I feel, society is having is everyone wants to do everything on their own. Everyone wants to think they're doing everything by themselves, but they're not. The most capable people in this world know how to build teams. They know how to bring people together and get their will done through the aspect of others who have knowledge in different places. If someone else in the group is mid at maybe the music part, but they have a really good leadership dynamic, maybe they might offer a suggestion for you to give information to others in a great way. If you're having a hard time being able to see yourself in a more compassionate light, you're having a hard time being nice to people who are struggling, there might be someone else in the group who's a little bit better with wording who might show you how to do that. And this is where we need to take on this burden and really be strong enough to hold it in and go, how can I make things better for other people so that things can be better for myself? In the famous words of the movie Jerry Maguire, there's a quote that's "Help me, help you," and it's said by Tom Cruise. And he needs something out of one of the other characters in order for him to be able to do his job better, because he wants to help this other person, but he can't until that other person provides the other half of what's going on. And this is where you can really utilize your leadership and your strength to become the kind of person to bring the best out of your team and get the most out of what you want in life. You'll never be able to achieve that on your own. If you want to go to AI and ask AI 1,000 questions, that's awesome. But guess what you're going to get? A robot talking back to you. That robot might be smarter than another person, but humans working together is a very, very important thing for your spiritual sense and for your communication dynamic, and you being able to look someone in the face and ask them something, to do something, to make your life grow, to not be afraid of the parts of life that require you to have emotional regulation, the parts of your life that require you to have emotional maturity. So this burden is only a burden until you can realize that it's something that you need to grow from. And as you learn to grow, you won't see it as a burden, you'll see it as a blessing. Burden to blessing, right? And one of the things that I find a lot of leaders that I know have problems with is they want to complain and they want to be mad about the things that they have to do in order to make things better in their life. But at the same time, they're annoyed that if someone else were to lead the group, they're annoyed that this person isn't doing things the way that they want. This person isn't doing things the way that I would want. Well, you have to make a decision. Are you going to be the person who's on top of making the environment where you can get things done? Or are you going to be the kind of person who's going to follow another person without always being the person who's dragging your heels, having something to say? Because you have those two choices. And if you're put in the position where you can be a leader, you should utilize that to build your best skills to become the best teacher, to become the best person to communicate with, and to become a person who has emotional maturity and emotional regulation to the point that this person might be messing this up or this person might be struggling on this, but that doesn't bother me. I can handle it. So I hope that this episode shows you guys a little bit about being one of the most capable people in the room and why it's important that we learn to carry this burden in order to make it a blessing, in order to make the visions in our world come true. And thank you guys for hanging out with me. Episode number 71 of the Toneful video series, The Burden of the Capable. And above all else, stay toned and toneful.